Hi everyone and welcome to this special preview blitz video where I'm taking a look at 11. This is the new Gamefound project from Portal Games where you are running a football team. Yeah, and I mean running a football team, not playing in one. This one doesn't have you actually play the physical games, this one has you running the club, managing the players, getting the staff, building up your stadium and doing that side of things. Very close to, shall we say, the Football Manager PC games that I remember my brother playing as a kid. Far too much in that respect. He stopped me playing World of Warcraft far too often by playing Football Manager.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
This was back in the days where one PC per household and 56k modems were a thing. But this game is going to, in fact it's already on Gamefound as we speak, and as Portal games go, one thing that they tend to do very well, or certainly try to push the envelope on, is theme. They really do like to come up with some really good themes for their games, not to mention some more obscure themes. And the first one that pops to your mind immediately when you think of that sort of thing is this one. Pret. I've talked highly about this one already. It is one of the few heavy economic games that I can put my stock behind, and this one was about the fashion industry. So an unusual theme, not really replicated anywhere else, and it carried that theme really well. Well, this one does that same kind of thing. It takes the Football Manager theme and runs with it really well. Although I am going to say, bear this in mind, it's nowhere near as heavy as the other one. This is not a heavy game, not a heavy game by far. If you think that that is heavy, this one's kind of more light medium weight. So how does this game work? Well, you play over 8 rounds, and each of you has got your own set of player boards. It is quite a table hog when you have 4 of you doing this, believe me. But the idea is that you've got your stadium, which is where you can build various upgrades, like extra seats, extra ad boards, some more lighting, that kind of thing. It gets you points and little bonuses. You've also got the actual football match pitch board, which is where you actually play out the matches in kind of, in a sense, a managerial way. You're not physically taking turns to kick balls about or anything. It's more you plan where you're going to put your players and then you resolve the match. But this will also track the result, who the opponent is, and some extra little bits at the end. And then you also have your essential kind of board meeting board, like your office board. This is where your director cards will sit, we'll get them in a moment. And you've got tracks to track things like the player's fitness, your budget for your stadium, your fan rating, and your operations level, which is kind of how many shenanigans can you do in a particular term. And you're playing against not only the other opponents, but also in a way against some AI opponents. You don't have to control a ton of teams, don't worry, but basically there's several other teams that you'll be playing against that are tracked on this league table here, and as well as your victories, draws and losses, they will also be tracked on here as well, and endgame scoring can be based on where you are in relation to these opposing teams. I believe there's about 8 or so that you go through. But the turn sequence is relatively straightforward. Phase 1, you essentially do a board meeting. Now, before the game starts, you draw a bunch of these director cards, and they give you a bonus at the start, possibly some special ability, but the main characteristic is that they have dice values on the side where they're coloured based on what type of decision they'll make. Because at the start of the game, you'll draw a board meeting card for each of you, and then you'll see, after rolling a die, where the colour matches on here. So if I roll a 2, for example, I can see that Salam Gibbo gets yellow, Frank Vizer is blue, and Mia Walker is also blue. So based on that, they go for the blue decision, and I read the card. People News wants to follow our club more. Do we want them to have weekly interviews with our players? Blue. Nope, players must focus on the team, and you resolve the effect. One thing I will say while I'm talking about the board meetings is that if you're hoping to get this game thinking it's a heavy strategic game, like very little luck involved, a bit like Pret in that respect, you will be slightly disappointed. You're gonna have to accept that there is an element of luck in this game. You're rolling dice at the start of a round based for a random board meeting card that you draw off the deck. You also don't necessarily know what the other team is going to do when you play against them. And there's other aspects of drawing cards, but most of them are on a display that you can mitigate what comes out. But again, there is a little bit of a luck factor here. Now, it plays well into the theme, but you are going to need to know this going in, that you won't have full control over everything that goes on. And if that's going to put you off, you may want to look elsewhere. But otherwise, stick around. So after you're done with this board meeting, you then take it in turns to have actions, and you get 3 actions in a round, but you might be able to make bonus actions if you use your operations track like well. And the idea is that you can do all sorts of things to help run your club. Like I said, you can build extra stands and stuff for your stadium. So I'll take an extra stand there for some extra fan service. I'll go build some lighting here for a bonus and some victory points, and so on. You can upgrade your office, which is basically just spend money and level up a track. I wish it was a little bit more involved in that, but again, build up your office, get points. It rewards you if you're doing pretty well with your money. But the main thing that you will do, and probably the more fun aspect, is the drafting of players, staff, and sponsors. So players, you've got all these little cards here, and there's multiple different ones. I think they're all unique. Some of them have got different abilities, they've got different strength values, and they play in different positions. And there's a mix between general players, who are kind of what they say on the tin, but you can train them up to be slightly better. But my favourite ones are the youngsters. They are all generic at first, they're all blue, they're 1 strength, they play in a position, whatever. But you don't know what's on the other side until you train them up. It represents the players where they've got hidden potential, but you don't know what that potential is until you train them up. So it's kind of a bit of a gamble as to what you're going to get, but that's kind of true in most when you're training up a football player. You don't know how a young player is going to turn out. You might just train him up thinking, oh well, he's just there, whatever, entertain him, and then suddenly he's the next Fernando. You know, it can happen. But you can hire these for money. You can also hire staff, which essentially have higher costs and then get you some special abilities and bonuses, like bonus actions perhaps, but also have set collection victory point bonuses for collecting like multiple stewards, multiple trainers, etc. And then you got sponsors, where you can grab yourself an ad board, where you can have yourself a sort of radio station ad, but you can also have a t-shirt sponsor. And depending on which of the 3 that you take, it gives you different effects, maybe a bonus. And I do quite like where they've gone with the sponsors on this. I mean, you don't need to care about what sponsor it is. If you want just the mechanical aspect, then just read the top half of the card. But I do like the fact that you can read some of these and you've got like Home Beers and You Betcha and People's News and Sport Fun. And it's like, some of them are sort of fairly generic, but there's a few interesting, like amusing ones here. And it's just, it can be quite amusing to sort of say, you know, I'm sponsored by Jazz Hands or something, or something kind of weird and bizarre like that. Once you are done with all of these actions, you then play out the match. The match itself is all done on this board, and it is done simultaneously, much like the board meeting. Word of warning with this though. As much as it's cool to say, oh, it's simultaneous, that means it doesn't take as long to take your turns. Yes, but this has the slight issue with regards to things like Seven Wonders and a couple of other games which play simultaneously. You are going to have to trust that the other players know what they're doing so that they do things correctly. And here, you need to be absolutely certain you know how the match resolving phase works, otherwise you could make a mistake. I'm not saying like the rulebook's bad or anything like that, you know, this is an early print rulebook, so it's got stuff in it and stuff missing, but obviously that's going to be, shall we say, like built upon as we go through the campaign. But it's one of those things where you need to be certain that the other players aren't making mistakes when they resolve the match. But what happens is you have these jersey markers that you essentially, let's see if I got it in the picture there. Yep, cool. So these jerseys you will have on the pitch in your 4-4-2, 4-3-4 formation, whatever you want to do. And they will have football and shield symbols depending on whether they're attacking or defending. And the idea is that you have a face-down stack of these opponent cards, which represent all the other teams. So what have we got here? We got the BFC, we've got the Middleham Local Club, Downtown United, and Dafton United. It's always something United, isn't it? But the scout report gives you a little blurb about the team. So in this case it says, this team's been playing in this league now for about 3 years without big successes. Their biggest star is their central forward, young and charismatic, and they play 4-3-3. So based on that scout report, you think, okay, so their central forward's going to be pretty hard nuts. They're doing a 4-3-3, but they haven't necessarily won many times. Okay, so, and then what you do is with your players that you'll have lined up in your forwards, midfield, and defence, depending which ones you've been getting, as well as all your other jerseys, which are just generic strength 1, you'll position them in your form in such a way, decide, right, I'm going to put him there, I'm going to have those attacking, those defending, and once you've got your position sorted, you then flip the card over, and it has the match, like, the plan, the strategy of the opposing team. And it gives you all the strength values and whether there are shields or footballs, and you go through every zone, all 9 zones, and compare the 2 values and whether they're attacking or defending, and based on what there is, it scores a goal. So if your strength is higher than theirs and you're attacking, you'll score a goal. If both players are defending, nothing happens. They just clash and do stuff. If the strengths are equal, nothing happens. It just ends up like that. If there's somebody on their own, they score because nobody opposed them. And you basically go through this line of thinking through every zone until you work out the score. So say 3-2 to me. So let's say I won, which is not something I tend to do often when I play football, but still. And you'll have a little die roll for a particular thing that happens, like maybe you'll get a bonus ability, maybe you'll lose a bit of fan service, or maybe one player gets an injury. Like I said, you're going to have to put up with a little bit of luck here because there's no way to really mitigate that part. But once you resolve the match, you score on the league table, and then you go to round 2, and you do this for 8 rounds. So you essentially have a board meeting, 3 actions, effectively, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. It's all played over a week, essentially. And Friday for the match. Monday and Friday can be simultaneous, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the turn-based ones. So far, I've liked my games of it, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go. This is a game that it was an early print when I got this, okay? So these components are nowhere near final. The rulebook is definitely going to need stuff added to it over time. Get Paul Grogan on the phone, for example. Get him to write your rulebook. That would be probably the best move you could make, actually. Get him involved. But with the other stuff, you'll have more characters, more cards. I'm only showing a few here, but there's a few more in the box. And obviously there's like 3 boards for 4 players. So there's going to be a fair amount of kit in this game. And no doubt there'll be a bunch of add-ons as well. But the game is, I would say, kind of light to medium weight. It's not a particularly strategic game, aside from deciding, well, I fancy this player or I fancy this thing. The main thing you're really being strategic about is what you do with the match resolving, and even then, you can kind of gear your decisions in a reasonable way. So I would say this is more tactical than strategic. But the theme is represented well. The football manager thing carries through nicely here. I feel like I'm running my team. I'm getting the players, I'm training some of them up, some of them are better than others. I'm deciding I want to be sponsored by You Betcha. I've decided that, I need Anna Rico as my mental trainer, and then, she can train up my youngsters, that kind of thing. And you do have a league table with about 8 to 12 of you effectively running around on this league table, of which some of the teams are better than others for the AI players, shall we say. And then you've got your own tracks and things to do. So, and even the match resolution, as much as it is essentially flip a card and compare your plan to theirs, you still get a score at the end, you still get to see some players do well and not, and it kind of tells its own story of the match. Much, like I say, like the PC games that have done this in the past. You never actually played the physical game in them. You just saw the spreadsheets, you just saw the league tables, you made the decision about whether to transfer a player, and you can sell players here as well. So you can get them, play a couple of matches, and then sell them off for a bit of extra money, transfer them to another team, whatever. Now, one thing that I will have to stipulate though, and this was for personal disappointment for me, but it may not bother other people, is that it's not particularly interactive. This game will have a solo mode in it, and I'm looking forward to see how that solo mode plays out actually, because I think that's probably going to be my preferred way to play this game, but it depends what they do. Like I say, this is game pre-Kickstarter phase basically, but it's not a very interactive game. You are getting cards, and maybe you'll take a card that somebody else wants, but I'm not directly screwing over your team. You don't physically play against each other in the matches, or at least we didn't when we had these prototype rules. And you're not saying, I'm gonna blow up your bit of the stadium, I'm gonna, hire your director, or I'm gonna take your player out of your place or something. It's like, there isn't really any of that. It's more just taking cards before someone else does. I would have liked maybe to have had a situation where you could actually play against the other player's team at some point. So, you would have your board with your jerseys, and you could have like a screen maybe, and you could have the jerseys on different zones and think, they've got some nasty players. I saw him hire Santorini over there, and it's like, that's going to be better. I'm going to go here. And then you lift up your screens, compare the 9 zones, and see who wins. Well, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see that, and I don't think that would be too difficult to implement. Yeah, maybe it will add a bit of extra time in the game, but wouldn't you want to see, But wouldn't you be like, you know what, I can do my team resolution in a minute. I want to see how you two get on. Come on, blue, blue, blue. It's like you'd be cheering other teams on, and I think that would just work really well. But who knows? We'll see what they come up with. So far so good. We'll see if this has got the the potential to live up to. It's definitely one that I would like to see do well, because one thing I will praise Portal for is I love, as I said before, how they push the envelope with their themes. We've had the fashion industry, now we've got football managing. I'm getting bored of coal, iron, and copper mining, and I'm getting bored of generic fantasy and generic medieval and beige Euros and things. It's about time we tried out some of these cool new themes, because they get me interested. I'm definitely more of a theme person. So that's it for me on this Blitz preview. If this takes your interest, then it's on Gamefound right now, so check out the campaign and see if it's one for you. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and some comments. Are you interested in this game? Have you played some of those Football Manager style PC games? Do you think this is going to represent that well? Do you care about football at all? I mean, to be honest, I will play five-a-side football. I'm not the biggest fan of football Premiership or anything like that, but I'll happily kick a ball around for five-a-side or stay in goal. A goal's easy. Just get my big butt in way of the ball. How hard is that? But if you like it, then by all means leave a comment. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. It means the world to me to know that you appreciate the content. This channel is sponsored officially by zatu.co.uk, and if you want to check out more content on the channel, then you can check out the top 100 that is taking good steam right now. So take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now.